All right, I think we're live. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our September ICMI and HDI Idea Exchange. This one is pretty special because we are joined by a special guest expert, Doug Tedder. If you have been part of the HDI or ICMI community for any bit of time, then you're probably very familiar with Doug, but he is my go-to expert on all things KPIs and metrics. So I was very pleased that he accepted my invitation to join us today. And he is here with us and ready to share an awesome presentation. He's got some slides he's going to be sharing with you today, but we're also going to have some time for a couple of group breakout discussions. So be ready for that. But I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Doug, let him quickly introduce himself, and let's dig into today's topic.
Thank you, Erica, and hello, everyone. Thank you for making some time out of your busy Friday. I know it's kind of tough to be the guy standing between you and your weekend, so I very much appreciate your spending a little bit time with me today, and we're going to talk about all things metrics. So, Erica, if you could go ahead, and we've got the obligatory. I didn't take any of these pictures, so I want to give credit where credit is due. But if you could go to the next slide, please. Yeah, that's me nowadays. Uh, but I've been working in service management for, oh my gosh, almost 30 years now. Are you kidding me? Been involved with HDI for, gosh, 12 years now, I think. And been very fortunate being named one of the thought leaders from the HDI side, for the last 7 years, I think, if I'm doing my math correctly here. And this spring, I got surprised with the 2025 HDI Lifetime Achievement Award. I was just very humble and very honored to be recognized with that award. For those of you that have been in classes with me before, you know that I'm an ambidextrous Trekkie. For those of you that don't know what an ambidextrous Trekkie is, I'm sure you're familiar with the character of Spock from Star Trek. He was from Vulcan, and Vulcans pride themselves in being in control of their emotions, of course. And when Spock greets someone, Spock would do something like this: live long and prosper. Well, I can see for those of you that are on camera that none of you are impressed by that. Well, would it impress you to know that not only can I do that with my dominant hand, but my non-dominant hand? So that makes me an ambidextrous Trekkie. So there you go. So, all right. So oh, thank you. See, somebody even applauded. Thank you, Julia. Appreciate that. So, Erica, if you could please. Erica just alluded to, we're going to do some breakouts. And this first breakout, I want you to take some time. And when you get into your breakout session, I want you to talk about what is causing you pain with your metrics. Is it people? Is it the process that you go through? Is it some of the technologies that you're having to use? Or, gee, Doug, I don't know. It's just painful. So, Erica, if we could open up some breakouts, and we'll take about 5 minutes to do that, and then we'll come back and talk about it.
All right, I'm opening up the rooms now. It usually takes a few seconds to get you out to the right spot, but we will bring everyone back together here in about 5 minutes. Hi, Zach. We just moved into a round of group breakouts. I'm going to see if I can get you put into a group.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Hi, Desiree. We just moved everyone into group breakouts, so I'm going to see if I can get you added to a group here really quickly.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I was trying to figure out what was happening.
All right. Just assigning you now. Hi, Dawn. We just kicked off a first round of group breakout discussions. So let me see if I can get you added into a room.
Great, thank you. Sorry, I was in another meeting.
No worries. All right. Looks like folks are making their way back in. Doug is back, most importantly.
Yeah, I got surprised, Erica. I didn't realize I was going to be in a breakout too. So
Bonus to that group.
a bonus, right?
Yeah.
I got to talk with some folks in their breakouts. So let's do this way, folks, because we do have a large number of folks, and I very much appreciate that. But if you could just put some of the things into the chat that you guys discussed in your breakouts. Where you were seeing issues? And can I do this? I'm gonna see if I can. Yeah, there it is. Good. It's starting to pop up here. So Mo says that we see the metrics of the many outweigh the metrics of the few. Sounds like a Star Trek movie to me. I'm with you, Mo. I may be doing that with you. So and Kim talks about how metrics are very reactive, and that is if I could just get in front of what my organization really needs from me and measuring the right things, that would be very helpful. Terry says, hey, I'm having trouble even describing or defining my metrics, and Christy talks about people are being resistant to being measured. Ooh, that's an interesting topic. Hmm. Hmm. I got my, that's got my brain spinning just a little bit there. Let's do a couple more. Gil talks about lots of data dumps and having to sort and refine. So we've got a little bit of a process issue as well as it sounds like disparate technologies or different technologies that we're trying to gather data from. And of course, if you're reading anything in the industry mags, AI is supposed to solve all that for us, isn't it? That's a blog I wrote for HDI a few months ago. It's not a magic wand, but nevertheless, Mo comes back. Oh, seriously? Oh, you were kidding. I thought that was serious. I thought it was a good response, Mo. Seriously, just a few metrics that everyone understands is better than the many that folks don't understand. Interesting point, because Eric, if you could, please go on to these are very similar kinds of reasons that I hear about measures and metrics, right? And I'm not going to read all these to you. You guys can read, but we produce this measure because our tools enable us to do it. Oh, okay, yeah, tools are going to help us with that, but are those the right measures? Or we do this indicator because everybody else we know does it. Right? You go to a class and I teach some classes for both, as Erica mentioned, I teach classes for both ICMI and HDI, and we get into conversations around various metrics. And we'll show you some metrics, but are those the right metrics for you? Here's one of my favorites, right? Why are you producing that metric? Well, my boss
I could put
expects
a
to see it.
earpiece in here if I can find it.
Yeah, no worries. And so are these the right, the question I would ask you to consider is, are these the right reasons for you and your company? Just because someone else tells you it's a good measure, doesn't make it a good measure for you. So Eric, if we could go ahead, one of the reasons why we measure is we want to be able to tell our story. One of my rules of thumb, if you don't walk away with anything else from this discussion today, one of the things I'd want you to take away is, I need metrics to tell my story. I need metrics to tell my story. No one knows what's happening in my contact center. No one knows what's happening within my support center, but my team. And I need to be able to tell that story because I'm so focused on the customer and I'm focused on doing the right things. And if I'm in a contact center, doing upsells or getting their problem solved. If I'm in the support center, I'm trying to resolve that issue or get it to the right folks and make sure that end user is happy with the things that we're doing it. And as we know, there are literally thousands of things that we can measure. Yay, technology, right? Yay, we've got all these things that we can measure. And I absolutely believe, I fully agree. If you don't measure something, there's no way you can manage it, right? It's like trying to hit a target in the dark. You might hit it. Chances are you won't. And then the other side of metrics here is if you cannot define it, you can't measure it. Back in the day, gosh, early in my career, and this tells you how long ago this is. The company I was working with was rolling out a new remote access technology for our traveling salespeople, right? And
I should have waited to open this until you got here. I'm so sorry. Sorry.
Could you, Gil, would you mind muting, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Sorry.
So this tells you how long ago this was. It was very innovative because our salespeople could stop by a coffee shop and access the internet, right? And so and it was going over really, really well. But as we know today, your mileage varies depending upon with internet performance, depending on the connection and where you are, and if you're Wi-Fi or if you're wired and all those kind of things. And one of my sales managers came back to me and said, "Can you measure the internet?" No, because I can't control it. I don't own it. And so I couldn't define what that meant. I could define other things, but I couldn't define measuring the internet. I couldn't do it. So I can't measure it if I can't define it. So Erica, so the things that we have to consider when it comes to identifying the right measures is we have to understand what's my organization value and what are the results or outcomes that my organization needs from its investments in people, process, and technology. So those are the two keys. right? And so for someone like myself to come and to this webinar and say, here are the 5 metrics that you need to capture with, regardless of your company, regardless of your industry, regardless of your geography, would be kind of silly, wouldn't it? Yeah, I mean, we've just been talking for just a few minutes today, and there's no way that I can tell you, here are those 5 metrics, go and have fun with them. What we have to understand is what our organizations value, or our consumers value, or our managers value, and what outcomes are they expecting. So let's level set a little bit on what are these terms and what do they mean. Value is pretty simple. Value is a sense of worth or importance. Right? Now, here's the struggle with value, right? What's valuable to me may not be valuable to Don, and that doesn't make either of us wrong. One of the things that, the story I always tell when it comes to value is that a couple of years ago, my wife and I, for our honeymoon, flew over to the UK. We spent a couple of weeks in the UK. And because it was a special event for us, and we wanted to fly first class. First class cost a little more money. But because we wanted that experience, I saw value in that, and I'm willing to pay a little extra dollars, right? The people that were in the back of the plane in the economy section, they were on this very same plane, and I was using the same flight crew, eating the same good, bad food. But what they valued was getting over to the UK the most economical way possible. Both of us, whether you're flying in first class or you're flying in economy, we want to land safely and we want to collect our luggage at the other end of the flight. So value is one of those things that we have to ask, what do you value, in order to understand what it is that we need to measure. We all wanted the same kind of outcome, right? We wanted to land safely in London. We wanted our luggage to show up at the same time we did. Right? So what is the result that you're wanting to get from your use of people, process, and technology? And then outputs can contribute to outcomes. And so the example I want to share with you is, you order a delivery pizza, right? The pizza coming from the oven is the output, but the taste of the pizza, the quality of the output, that's the outcome. And so here's an example as you go through this, right? We place our order. You see that in the top left kind of graphic there. Someone somewhere starts to put together a pizza for us. The next step is they put the toppings on top. Man, that's a good looking pizza right for lunch, isn't it? Then it gets shoved in the oven, right? And then we take it out of the oven. We put it into a box. We take it onto a driver, and eventually it shows up at our front door, and we start to eat some lovely pizza. Well, look at all of the outputs that it took to deliver that outcome of a hot, tasty pizza that didn't make me sick when I ate it. So here's the thing to think about. Too many organizations, I'm sorry, back up one, Erica, not quite there. Too many organizations measure outputs and miss the outcome that the organization really wants to know. Right? I took 10,000 contacts in my support center, or I took 10,000 calls from customers in my contact center. And that's a good thing to know if you're the manager of those respective groups. But you take that to your president of your company, you know what she's going to say? Great job, keep it up. You didn't get to tell your story, did you? And so too many people, too many organizations mistake outputs for outcomes, and they're very different. Always ask, what is the outcome and what is the value of the metric for the person that is receiving it? What are they wanting to know? So now, Erica, if you could, please. So is there value in measuring outputs? Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. It takes one or more outputs to produce an outcome. Right? You just saw that with the analogy around the pizza delivery. The output is the order, then it goes into the guy making the pizza, and the output of that goes into the oven, and the output of the oven is a baked pizza that goes into the box, and the output of that goes into to the delivery driver, and then the output of that is delivered on my front door. Only when I open the box and eat it do I get the result. But measuring outputs are important, right? It can help us identify bottlenecks. It can help us identify where we're having errors. Maybe we're not being as efficient as we need to be. So we need to understand, yes, outputs are important, but how do they enable the outcomes? That's the question. How do they enable the outcomes that my organization is wanting? So let's talk a little bit about metrics and reporting, Erica, if we could. So we're probably very familiar with this. Why do we need to measure? Well, we need to direct our teams, right? That is the most common reason for measuring. We need to guide actions, to change behavior, making sure that we're on course. Maybe we need to intervene. Maybe things are starting to go off the rails a little bit, and we need to take some kind of corrective action. Maybe we need to justify we've made a decision and then we've identified the right targets and the right metrics that support that decision. Or maybe we need to validate that we're on course with organizational strategy. But then we need to report that information. And why do we want to report? Well, we have to demonstrate value. We have to confirm that we're doing the things that we're supposed to do, and we have to present information in a way that it can be actioned. Right? If we're producing metrics, if we're producing reports that result in no action, we're measuring the wrong things. We're measuring the wrong things, or at least we're reporting the wrong things. So things that you have to consider is, who is the audience? Well, how frequently do they need to know about our metrics? And then how are we going to deliver? Is it going to be a dashboard? Is it going to be a website? How are we going to deliver those reports? So this is where you get your North Star. And the North Star is on, as Erica moves us to the next slide, the North Star is your organization's strategy. MVGO, mission, vision, goals, and objectives. Every organization has them. If you aren't aware of your organization's mission, vision, goals, and objectives, it's time to go have a conversation with your boss. And if they don't know, it's time to have a conversation with their boss, because every organization has them. And this is what's important to your organization. This is how you start to identify what are the right things for me to measure. So this is the beginning place. Mission. What is the purpose of our organization? Why do we exist? Vision. Where are we going? What is the to-be state of our organization? Goals. What are those things that we're going to do to achieve the mission and vision? And objectives. How do we measure success toward achieving our goals? So another way to think about this, there's a couple of other things here. So Erica, if you could, please. There are some measures that are important to help us understand how well we're doing against mission, vision, goals, and objectives. First is a critical success factor, or CSF. A CSF just represents a condition or factor that must be present for us to have success. Now, I've read different things about CSFs. I believe that a CSF is not measurable. So here's my example. You may read something differently. Okay, but here's my example. And I'll use service management for just a second. A critical success factor for incident management is having a good support center. I can't measure good though, but I know that it's important for me to have success with incident management. But I can't measure it, but I know I need it. For some organizations, it's responsiveness. For other organizations, it's solving on the first contact. For other organizations, it's a handle time of less than X. That's up to your organization, right? That's mission, vision, goals, and objectives kinds of things. But the way that I can start to quantify a CSF is through a KPI, a key performance indicator. That is a metric. So in other words, a metric is a KPI when it tells us how well we're doing on accomplishing our goals and objectives. If you go back and look at your mission, vision, goals, and objectives, and you aren't capturing KPIs around those objectives, there's another measure you need to capture, because that's critical to the organization's success. Now, keep in mind that metrics are quantitative. There can be some qualitative metrics, how well something is doing, but that's usually opinion. And even then we distill it down into a number on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being great. It's still qualitative. Not all metrics are KPIs, but all KPIs are metrics. And then the last thing you have to consider is oftentimes a metric is based on the use or an algorithm being captured, an algorithm being applied to two or more metrics or measures. So for example, a measure of fuel efficiency in a car is miles per gallon. That's a metric. The two measures involved, number of miles traveled, number of gallons consumed. I divide those two and I come up with an efficiency measure of miles per gallon. All right. So what should we measure and report? Well, I'm a big believer in looking at the strategy of the organization. So Erica, if you could start the build here. Which of these measures and metrics provides the information, if you could click, please, provides the information that we need to understand KPIs and CSFs to ensure that we're on course with our strategy? These, the closer you can get, or the more that you can relate what you're doing to get to your organization's goals and objectives, the more successful you're going to be. The better enabled you are to tell your story. So it's purposeful why we choose these things. It's purposeful why we identify the measures and the KPI, I'm sorry, the measures and the metrics, and which one of those metrics are KPIs. That's very purposeful. It's thoughtful. It's not just something that someone tells you. It's not just something that your service management tool or your contact management systems, spit out for you. Yeah, those are good outputs maybe to monitor. But what are the ones that our organization truly cares about? That's the other question that we often need to ask. So Erica, if you could, please. So I already kind of talked about that. If your business is willing to spend money to achieve it, it's a KPI, right? Absolutely. If it underpins that critical goal for meeting a business objective, absolutely is a KPI. If we start to see overall trends, it's probably a KPI. So if you could, please go ahead to the next slide. So now we've started to get some ideas about what we need to measure. The next and most important part of this, though, is who do we need to tell? Right? How do we report this stuff? Who's the report for? What is being done as a result of that report? Who's going to take that action? How frequently do we? Let's try this in English. One more time. How frequently do we need to provide the report? And what's the media that we're going to use? Is it a dashboard? Is it a website? Is it a paper report? What is it? But one of the things that will help you as you start to produce your reports is identify those critical success factors. Remember, if a critical success factor are those things that are critical to our success, our reports need to reflect that. So those are the kinds of things that we need to think about. So the thing, Eric, if you could, please, we need to tell our story. That's how I started our conversation a bit ago. We need to tell our story. But just as importantly, who needs to hear what story? There is no one size fits all. But yet many contact centers, many support centers try to use the same measures and metrics and the same reports to tell its story to folks that are all over the spectrum from a customer perspective or from a colleague perspective, right? The things that we tell our director or our CIO should be different than what we tell our staff and our teams. Very different. So we have to become effective in telling our story. And the place to start is understanding who is the audience, what you want them to know. Remember, metrics is a way to tell your story. What do you want those folks to know? What do you want your CIO to know, your director, your business management people? What do you want your team to know? As well as answer the questions for what they want to know. Remember, I talked a little bit earlier about value. And what's valuable to me may not be valuable to Allison, but it doesn't make either of us wrong. Here's the secret, folks. The only way that you're going to be able to know what is valuable to someone is go ask them. And that's what you try to measure. So what is valuable to your director? What is valuable to your CIO? What is valuable to your team members? Ask them. There are things that you need to tell them. but there are equally and just as importantly things that they want to know. So it's time to go to another breakout. Erica, if you could throw up the next slide. And you might want to take some notes because I don't know if we can beam the slide into the breakout rooms. But if you're looking at it from a contact center perspective, here these are probably 4 good audiences to start with: your business manager, your contact center manager, your agents, your customer itself, and the kinds of metrics or the kinds of topics that they may want the story they may want to hear. I think I've got one more slide here, Erica, before we go into the breakout. Yeah, if you're in the support center, maybe it's similar, but a little bit different, right? Business management wants to know one thing. Your IT leaders may need to know something slightly different. You as a manager, you want to know how well your support center is performing. As agents, how are you performing? How are you contributing to the business mission, vision, goals, and objectives? And then, of course, who are your consumers and what they want to know? So now I think I'm finally to the slide. There we go. We're in the, so this is the breakout. And so what I'd like you to do when you get into your breakout, and I don't expect you to do all 5 of these audiences, right? I think, Erica, you were going to share with them that this presentation will be available and the recording will be available afterwards, so you can come back and reference this. But pick one of these audiences when you get into your breakout. And then think about it in these ways. In the first 2 columns, what do you need them to know? And what metrics might tell that story? Okay. On the last 2 columns, what they need to know. It may not be the same as what you need them to know, but they have some desire. They have some information that they want from you. So what do they need to know and what metrics tell this story? The thing that I want you to keep in mind is that last bullet point. Keep in mind that you may not be currently capturing some of the metrics that you're going to identify. You may have to work on this a little bit, but you know what? That's why we're here, right? That's why the contact center is positioned within the organization where it is. That is why the support center is positioned within the organization where it is, because they want us to fill in that gap and tell them what they need to know, as well as being able to tell our story. So, Erica, I have 12:03 Eastern. We could probably, how much longer do we have in our webinar? I'm hoping we take 10 minutes.
And we have till 12:30 Eastern. So I've got the rooms ready to go, but before I open them, I would suggest just taking a quick screenshot or even a cell phone pic of this slide so that you have it in your groups to access. So I'll give everyone a few quick seconds to do that. And then I'll open up the rooms. And you said 12:15, Doug? We'll bring everybody
Yeah,
back.
if we could go about 12:15, I think that would
Sure.
be a good conversation.
All right, last call to snap that pic. I'm going to go ahead and open up the rooms and we'll see you guys back shortly. All right, I figured out how to keep you from getting put into a group this time.
I was thinking, oh no, I'm going to be in one of these rooms and I have to defend
I held
my.
you out along with this IN is someone's AI note taker, so I kicked them out too.
Yeah. So we'll see. You collect feedback after the you send out a survey or something asking what they thought, or you're just, or no.
We usually don't for these because they're smaller, but if you would like, I'm happy to send out a short version of like our webinar survey when I send the recap and the recorded out.
Yeah, what I typically do, and we don't have to do it because this format doesn't lend itself well, but I always do a plus delta when I do these kinds of things. What went well, what could I done differently? But anyway, I'm just curious if I hit the target for folks. That's all.
Yeah, we could totally put that out.
I appreciate
Chantel
it.
looks like
Oh, she went back.
just gonna tell her. See her in here before, so she must have just. Oh, well, she landed in room 5, so she's good. Oh. Hi, Keith. Are you just joining us? You're on mute. We are in group breakouts right now. But if you'd like, I can add you to one of our groups. I think he did it a room too. Yes, I will add a short survey to that post email.
Yeah, if it's not too much trouble. I'm just curious if it hits
It's
the
easy.
target. Okay, thank you. I'd appreciate that.
Sure. Probably get all of this out on Monday because I'll have to do a little bit of editing with the video file with the breakout room pauses to get the recording pulled together, and we'll add it to YouTube.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. Yeah, that'd be great.
So I'll send everyone one email when everything is ready.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sorry. I need to kind of step up the game. It's just hard to get excited about this stuff. And I hope that's not coming through.
I can't wait to hear how these group breakouts went because I could already tell that this group is very engaged. Just looking at the chat.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's not what I've read in the chat. Just a very quick look is that the chat is not unusual. When I get into these kinds of conversations, not
Yep.
unusual.
Yep.
I got this tool and we changed our tool and suddenly we lost our metrics. Yep.
Exactly. Yep. So by the way, I think that like out of this whole crew today, there might be 2 people that are contact center only. So I didn't bother like dividing them
Okay.
out. I didn't want to single them out like into a group of 2.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it is what it is. That's okay. Yeah. At least they're here. I think in my breakout, both of them. There were 2, right?
Yeah. Were they in your
James
group?
and yeah, I think they were in my group. James and oh my gosh, Julia. I think they were contact center. The way they asked their questions, I think it was
Yep.
contact center.
I've had James and Julia, other one. They're pretty loyal. Oh goodness.
Well, I hit your target at least, Erica. Idea exchange, that's how you marketed this. They've got 15 minutes or 10 minutes, 15 minutes to exchange ideas.
I think it's kind of a nice break from the usual format. And you nailed it. Like I love doing ones like this where they have a tangible activity because not only can they talk about it now, but they can take it back and do it with
Yep.
their team, which is
Yeah.
very valuable. Like as an attendee myself, I like stuff like this.
It's a lot to absorb, especially from someone that I try really hard to slow down and I still get speedy. When you can come back and listen to it again and now here, really versus trying to keep notes and blah, blah, blah. Okay, now let's listen to it one more time. And now here's some actual tools that I can use. And
Yep. I like having charts like this to work on. Do you have anything fun planned for the weekend?
So my wife's birthday is Sunday, and we're going to go take a weekend. We found a bed and breakfast in just east of Columbus, Ohio, and we're going to go visit that for the weekend. So should be a little bit of R&R, unplug for a little bit, and celebrate her birthday.
That sounds perfect.
Looking forward to it. This is a cool place where we discovered it earlier this spring, and we went for a long weekend, and it rained the entire time.
Oh no.
It was just that. It was early spring, and it just cold rain the entire time. And so we sat on the front porch of this place and in a blanket and read a book. We were reading books. Okay, got to at least do that. But she said, we didn't get to do that, and we didn't get to.
Well, have you got a do-over? You're getting a do-over. That's
We're getting a
great.
do-over.
An actual rain check.
Yeah, exactly.
Just making sure that Ryan got where he needed to be.
I have never met Ryan. He reached out to me in LinkedIn a couple of weeks ago and asked to connect. So when his name popped up, I'm like,
That's cool.
yeah,
Must have seen your post.
must have. Like, oh, I remember that name. And then the last two, I call them coffee talks, the thing that you've been doing every month and
Yep.
get signed up, right?
Yep.
Gil Brucken has been in both of them.
Yep. You
Yeah.
know what's funny? It's been harder to get people to sign up on the HDI side, and on the ICMI side, I have like almost more than I can handle that are wanting to do like coffee every month. And so every single month I've been able to mix together like new groups of people that are meeting each other each time.
Nice. Very nice. I'm kind of surprised to hear you say that from the
I know, I
HDI
thought it would be
community.
opposite. I
I
thought
did
it would have been
too.
opposite.
I would have too.
I'm
Oh, well,
always surprised.
keep it up. I mean, I think it's a good thing. Our local chapters can only do so much, and we're constrained a little bit by geography there.
Yep.
But yeah, I think it's a good thing. I'll sign up for another one
Thank you.
at some point. Have you? I don't recall sending out, and I probably missed it, Erica. But if you've sent out anything for the next few months, I've missed it, so I can.
I'll shoot you a link because we've got sign up forms live all the way through the end of the year.
Oh,
So
perfect.
it's like you kind of have to opt in each month.
Perfect.
You should try to go to one of the ICMI ones too, because those groups have been like, I can't even tell you how engaged they've been. They're like
Oh, wow.
posting their group selfies on LinkedIn, and they're like sending follow-up emails and sharing ideas and tips. It's been kind of wild to see.
I would like to do that. Finally, first time I've been going to the ICMI conference to teach the metrics course there, but I haven't
Mhm.
been able to stay. So this is the first time I'm going
Oh,
to be able
good.
to stay and at
Good.
least get a day of the conference in. And so yeah, that might be a good thing after conference for me to
Yeah.
just sit in on one or two.
Yeah. I think you'd get a lot out of it. I've been pleased with the level of engagement.
Perfect. Yeah, fantastic.
All right, let me get these
Well,
guys
you
to
should
the
know. Oh, got 2 minutes here. You should know that we talk about you behind your back, Rayanne and
Oh,
Randy,
no.
and yeah, we do. We're good job, all good. Keep up the
Thank
good
you.
work, right?
I need to reach out to Rayanne. I've been so busy this summer with taking on Enterprise Connect this summer is just kind of thrown a bit of a wrench in my schedule, but
I bet. I bet.
I'm
So yeah,
hoping
we've been
to
saying
hire
good
someone in
things.
2026.
Oh yeah. I tell you, you can only burn the both ends of the candle for so long.
Yeah,
Yeah, been there, done
yeah,
that.
yeah. Especially in a high touch role when you're trying to build relationships, one person cannot do it alone.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. No, need a tribe.
So I'm making the case to hire help. And Abby gets it. She's great. Like I have her full support. So
Oh yeah, I like Abby. I met her briefly as she was exiting out of HDI,
yep.
whenever that was. I met her briefly, and but so when she rejoined HDI, I said, I recognize. Where do I recognize that name
Yeah.
from? And so
We are lucky to have her. She is a wonderful boss. I feel
good.
very
I'm glad to hear
blessed.
that. I'm glad to
Mhm.
hear that. Yep, you guys are doing some good stuff.
Thank you for saying that. We always have the best things to say about you guys too behind your back. Especially you and Randy and Jeff and Rayanne. Well, you guys are just the best.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
I mean it.
I do appreciate it.
I Okay, I'm gonna let these guys back in. We'll see if everybody makes it. All right, it looks like people
Too
are
much
slowly making their way back
information.
in.
Back to the main room.
Got a couple folks in the lobby I'm letting back in. All right, I think we've got most everyone back, Doug.
I'm sure that you didn't have much of a conversation in your breakout rooms, did you? Yeah. I hope you found those breakouts useful. I hope you found the template useful. As I mentioned before we went into breakouts, Erica's going to make all this stuff available to you, so you'll be able to get a PDF of the slides. You'll be able to hear the recording of the meeting. And I'm sorry that I was very dull and boring and wasn't excited about the topic. So I hope to do better next time. But I just wanted to just quickly summarize, the importance of metrics and telling your story. What you talk about, though, what the things that you measure really depends upon several factors. First, your company mission, vision, goals, and objectives. Those things are your North Star. Sometimes I advise folks to, if you don't have a mission, vision, and goals for your contact center or for your support center, that can be a good thing to start to align what you do with your overall corporate objectives, that kind of thing. Who's the audience? So we may have different measures that we're going to tell different audiences. The thing that you tell a business executive is not the same you're going to tell a teammate or someone in your direct manager, those kind of things. And then last but not least, think about what you're going to do with that metric. Are you going to make a decision based upon that metric? And then last but not least, don't start with measures first. Start with reporting. What are the reports that we need to create for that audience, for which audience? And now what are the metrics that need to go into that report? So that's it for me. We do have a few minutes for some questions. If you'd like, put them into the chat, and I'll try to catch a few here if you do have any final questions. But I do appreciate your time, and thank you for spending for what's for some of you is your lunch hour. So I do appreciate that. But any questions, if you could just throw them into the chat. Okay. Either I've overwhelmed everyone or I've done such a good job that there are no questions. And either way, that's fine. No, I do appreciate it. If you want to continue the conversation, by all means, look me up on LinkedIn and let me know that hey, I listened to you and rant on and rave on about metrics on Friday the 19th. I'll be happy to connect with you. If you're coming to the ICMI conference here in a couple of weeks, CC Expo, or if you're going to be at Service Management World in November, look me up. I'll be at both conferences. I'll be leading the metrics class pre-conference training at CC Expo. Excuse me. And at Service Management World, I'll be doing the support center manager class. So I hope to meet you there. Have a great weekend. Pardon me. So sorry.
Thanks, everyone. And I will be sending an email out probably by Monday with a link to the recording and a PDF to the slides, as well as a short survey. So, Doug, thank you so much for an incredible presentation, as always. And thank you all for spending part of your Friday with us. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.